Live from the Pitch Pad in New York City. Get ready to unleash your inner entrepreneur with Pitch Live with Amy Summers. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the Shark Tank, this is the place to be to discover how to turn your pitch into reality. Fasten your seatbelts, pitch stars, because the spotlight is on you and we are about to make success happen. On this episode of Pitch Live,
you invited me to a dinner and you said it was with the top performers. It really did give me such a boost of confidence because having you as someone who believed in me, it really helped me with even my move to New York City and telling myself, I think I could do this because if I could handle that, maybe I can handle bigger things.
That's amazing. I had no idea that was your perspective, but
yeah, especially at the time. At the time, it meant a lot. Yes.
Get ready for Pitch Live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Pitch Live. I'm your host, Amy Summers, founder and president of Pitch Publicity and Anisi Box. I'm also a hardworking entrepreneur who is passionate about helping you reach success at any area of your life. And I know that is possible after decades of experience in perfecting the pitch and enhancing communication skills, which is why I'm here today and joined by Camile Sardina, who I first met after I had shifted my business from a physical office to a remote setup. And Camile was a student studying PR at my alma mater at the University of Florida. Go Gators, Camile. And I had recruited several PR students to help me run a fundraising event for one of my nonprofit clients, the Kara Grace Foundation in Gainesville. So she didn't do a full internship with us. It was like a one-night volunteer gig. But as you're going to hear later in the show, that one night can, really make an impact on someone. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. Today, Camile is founder and CEO of Evolist Media. It's a boutique public relations firm that she launched right here in New York City, representing brands like Airbnb and Peatos. And for the past decade, Camile's work has been featured across top national media, including Good Morning America, Women's Health, The Washington Post, Self Magazine, and Forbes. She's also a very talented freelance writer and co-author of Changemakers, a portrait of storytelling project that highlights women whose work has inspired meaningful change. Welcome, Camile. I'm so excited to reunite with you.
Amy, thank you so much for having me on. I am equally as excited, and also to talk about, how we met and how magical it was for me at the time.
And it was great seeing you. I know that we reconnected at the Gotham Gator event, and you would come up to me and you're like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's always fun to have those moments as a professional, and to see that you're have your own business. So I'm excited to talk about that. But before we get into all my questions, I'm doing something special this season called Behind the Bio series. So I just introduced you to everybody. I gave them your bio that you gave me, but throwing you a little curveball here, but I would like you to share one thing about yourself that's not on your bio that people can't easily find maybe online, that you really want them to know about you.
Well, at least not in my PR bio, is that I am an extremely independent traveler. You could find this on probably different social media and figure that out as well. But I've been solo traveling for quite a while now, and I consider myself an expert in let's call it an art form. And so I live this, yes, very, very, very PR-oriented career life, but then I also have this extremely outdoorsy, adventurous side to me that likes to explore all parts of the world.
Oh, very cool. Well, we'll have to get some tips from you later on that. That sounds like a whole nother show, though.
It is. Oh, yes, it definitely is.
All right. Well, so let's rewind a little bit, go back to the college years, how we met. Let's go back to where it all started. It was that one night you came to volunteer at the Kara Grace Foundation. Do you remember what year was that? 2011 or 12? Do you remember?
Yeah, it must have been 2000. It might have been 2012. Was it in this? If it was in the spring, I want to say it was 2012, but it was one of the two. It was yeah,
Okay.
2011 or 2012.
Well, I share my own perspective of that particular night in my book Lift. So I was so excited to have you on the podcast because I really wanted to hear your perspective of that night and kind of what was going through your mind as a college student walking into that event.
Yeah. So with the Cura Grace Foundation and Pitch Publicity hiring me for the day, to help out or as an intern, that was the first really, really big event that I worked during my time in college. I had worked on different projects, of course, for different like pseudo clients with these student run PR firms, but I had never actually worked an event before like that. So it was my first time doing something like that. I was a little nervous, of course, but I said, "All right, well, I know that there were interns for for your company already. I wanted to stand out, so I said, I am just going to hustle and do everything imaginable at this event and go above and beyond. And I remember just yeah, doing anything possible. From sometimes it was greeting people, sometimes it was just um, getting certain things needed for setup or and all things that have to do with an event, which is always so involved. And after the event, I remember you had invited me to a dinner. It might have been at a place called, was it was it Abuelos, maybe? Was that the restaurant?
Okay.
It might have
Maybe,
been
yeah.
that one. It might have
You have
been
a
that
good
one.
memory. I don't even remember that. Okay.
It could have been a different one, but you invited me to a
Okay.
dinner, and I just remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even." When you're doing the work, you don't realize how you might stand out. Sometimes you're just, in doing the thing, and I was just so elated that you had invited me, and so I said, "Yeah, of course, I will go to this dinner," and you said it was with the top performers of the event. And it really did give me such a boost of confidence, I will say, because I remember in college, there was a time where maybe I was a little preoccupied with other things at the time. And then come my junior and senior year, I really buckled down on my grades again, which is normally what I would do. But you really, at the time, gave me this boost of confidence that was actually very much needed. And I would say the work having had worked that event and also having you as someone who believed in me, it really helped me with even my move to New York City and telling myself, I think I could do this because if I could handle that, maybe I can handle bigger things and why not, And I also kind of took a leap with working the Cura Grace Foundation event as well, because I didn't think I was going to get that either.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that you shared that with me. I had no idea that that was your perspective, but,
Yeah, especially at the time. At the time, it meant a lot. Yes.
and and just so everybody knows, this is, like, the first time I'm hearing this, so I'm trying to, like it really means a lot to me that you say that because, in the book that I wrote, I talk about, sometimes we have these relationships where, a lot of times you think about mentorship, you think it's like a long-term relationship, but I emphasize in the book a lot, like, just moments of time, just opening a door for somebody, which sounds, like not a big deal, or even like you said, me taking you and the top performers out to dinner, like anything like that could just be seen as such a confidence boost that could help somebody, take another bold step.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. And I remember this must have been about 10 years later when we ran into each other in New York City. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that's Amy. That's Amy from Pitch Publicity. I have to go say hi." And I immediately went up and said, "I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you. You gave me this opportunity as kind of this at this event, and you really did make an impact on the steps that I took in my career going forward and just how I felt about my skills. So yes, and I remember that conversation as well in New York City. And yeah, and maybe that also sparked an idea in you and you said, "Wow, I mean, we didn't realize either that giving these opportunities could
Yeah.
have an impact like that."
Yeah, you make a good point too, because I think it's important to tell people that if they've made an impact on your life, because it definitely affected me, because when you hear that, you wanna do it more, right? It becomes you realize that your actions have impact, even if they're small or even they're a short amount of time, so I
Yeah,
definitely appreciate you
absolutely.
coming up and sharing that with me.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
and that
so
that
let's
star
talk.
dinner was especially, I would say the the biggest part of what gave me,
Mm.
it just made me feel very special, that dinner that said, "Oh, the top performers are gonna come and eat dinner together." So, yes.
Mm. And look, you're an entrepreneur and you have your own company now.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so you graduated from the University of Florida, and did you make the move to New York City right away, or what was your process? Did it take a couple years to get here? How did you
It
get
was
here?
it was essentially right away. I did work for a radio station in Gainesville, where University of Florida is, if some listeners don't know. I did that for a little bit, for a number of months, but then I went right to New York City. It was very short term, and because I knew I wanted to leave, I was ready to go and be in a bigger city, go for bigger opportunities, and it was very much a one way ticket, one suitcase situation. It was kind of, yeah, it was quite spontaneous in a way. I did have some interviews lined up, so I will give myself credit for that. But I was just so ready to go. So I said, I don't care. I'm going to stay with my friends and I'm going to couch surf. And I did that for a month before I landed a startup gig over there.
So why New York? Why did you pick New York?
Well, I knew that I wanted to try living in a big city and a city that also had made sense for public relations. And so my immediate thoughts were New York City or Los Angeles. I was born in New York, outside of the city, so it already had a place in my heart, and I also had family that I could visit in New York. So that was the best option for me, even though I never really liked the cold, and obviously New York City can get very, very cold, and so that's why LA, I thought, "Well, maybe I'll go there," but, no, the New York City energy is just more up my speed anyway, so, yeah, so that
I
those
agree.
those reasons
You
were
can't
why.
match the energy in New York. I feel like
No,
it's
no, not possible, no, and I've been to different places, I said, "No, still, no place like it."
So tell me about your first job. So you're here, you're couch surfing a little bit, you're applying. How did you land your first job and what was it?
I was couch surfing for about a month. And so some of the interviews I had lined up were actually with people who went to University of Florida. So I remember going on LinkedIn and I tried to see who's working in New York City NPR who went to UF. So at least we have this common connection.
Mhm.
And out of all the interviews, I did get accepted for this one startup PR firm, which mostly handled food, health type of clients. It's called Green Goddess Public Relations, and it's still a startup company to this day. And I ended up choosing that one because I liked how I would really learn the ins and outs of what it takes to create a startup business because it was a small team. And I liked that I'd be wearing a lot of hats. That just seemed more interesting to me because when I worked in internships in the past with a lot bigger companies, the tasks that they would have you do, super informative and helpful to learn, of course, but I did feel a little bored at times. And so I
Mhm.
didn't know if it was going to be like that if I started working for, say, a big or medium sized company again. And I thought that the smaller company just seemed a lot more dynamic. So I went with that. And after working with the company for a little more than a handful of years, I really did learn what it took to grow a really, really small PR business and remote at that. It was a remote business, which is an important point, perhaps because at the time, this would have been 2013, around
It
there.
was still not cool.
No, no one was doing it. No one was working remotely. There were no remote teams. And I
Mhm.
remember when she said, "Oh yeah, you're going to work remote." And I said, "Remote?" And at first I thought, "A TV remote? What?" And then because no one put that word in the context of working.
Right.
And she means we're not going to work apart. We did work together at times because we were both in New York City, but there wasn't a set office. I could literally work anywhere. So that also introduced me to this kind of digital nomad entrepreneur
Mhm.
life that never crossed my mind of me having this now.
What was your relationship like with that boss? Did you feel like, would you call her a mentor? Did she help you kinda get your
100.
start?
Yeah, she is still a mentor to this day, and she is, I mean, she was my first PR job and mentor in the real world, as someone just
Do
getting
we
out of
wanna
college.
give her a shout out? What was her name?
Yes, her
Or
name's
what
Cindy.
is her name?
Yes, her name's Cindy Avila, and she lived in New York City for the entire time I was there. But at one point, she did move to Miami with. She has kids. She has a big family, and Miami was easier. So she does go back and forth sometimes, but Miami's now where she is based. So Cindy, yes, shout out to you because you, yeah, you gave me a reason. Well, first of all, because I moved to New York City on a whim with no plan. Um, having having landed that startup in such a short time, that startup gig allowed me to stay there. And yeah, she is the reason why I understand how to even like run a small remote business. I don't think I would have been able to do that if I worked for a bigger company. I really don't.
What did you learn from that experience and learn from her that you didn't learn in school? What surprised you the most about your career? Because we learn so much in school and we think we're so equipped, but when you really got here, you're in New York. Now you're working at a remote job, which was unusual. We were remote too, so I can I feel like Camila and I are on similar but different tracks the whole way.
Right, right, right.
What was like, "Oh my gosh, this is not what I expected," or "This was so different than what you learned
Yes,
in school?"
I would say, in university, they're not really teaching you about how the uh, the actual news stations run and just little quirks that they have in terms of the landing the story. And Cindy, she worked in TV for a long time before she started her own PR business. And so I learned a ton about TV from her. Oh, make sure not to pitch in these times because it's actually really annoying to them. Or, okay, make sure you mention certain things in the beginning of the pitch because that's gonna catch their attention more. They get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. This is what's gonna get their attention. Do it right away. And it just very small details about how to set up a pitch, for example, or about when to call them, or keywords to use that'll make you sound a little more credible and experienced in that world. And so yeah, I would just say it was just with her specifically, it was a lot to do with TV that I learned about.
Agree. I feel the same way. I learned from my first boss, similar, like, so much about broadcast I never learned in school, and it really helped set me up when I was setting up pitch too, because I had a better understanding, and now I often think, "Wow, if I could go back to school, I would have taken a lot more broadcast classes." I kinda wonder, like, "Why didn't they
Yeah,
make us do that?"
I know. I don't know. I don't know. It was super like the writing in it was such a great program, and I think
Mhm.
it really did set me up in terms of the writing skills. But there was a different major called telecom, and we
Yeah.
didn't
And we
apply
weren't
as much as
really
we should have.
yeah, we weren't really involved with that. We had to do
Yeah.
the reporting and the this kinda all the written classes, but Yeah, that's
Exactly.
interesting that you had a similar experience. Do you remember, now this is just when you're at your first job still, but do you remember landing, uh, a first media placement
Oh, yeah, of
and
course.
what was that like?
Yeah.
And what did you pitch and how did you get it?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the first ever, that I remember it was a site called 10.com, and it was so that if we're talking literally the first memory and the first time ever in the real world. And it was a pitch that had to do with kids and online safety, I want to say, something like that. And it was this parenting website, which was, even though the company that she had was mostly with food and health, at times there was parenting as well. So it just happened. I just happened to be working on this account with her. And yeah, I just remember the astronomical amount of excitement that I had, because it just seems like I'm just new to this I'm just new to the real world, and it seems like so difficult to land anything with the press. It seems so far out of reach, and especially um when you really, I lived in outside the city normally, but not in the city. So, I just had all of these, it just seemed very exciting, but also a- almost unattainable at times when you think about New York City and working in New York City and like what you can achieve. So I don't know, that moment for me was just, yes, extremely exciting. And it made me realize, oh, wow, okay, this is real. This is
You
happening.
can do it.
That I could do it. I could do it, and I did the writing myself, I remember, which doesn't always happen. A lot of times when you're
Mhm.
new,
Did they
you're
take whatever you wrote and put it right online?
as they do a lot of the times, right? Sometimes they'll just copy paste, maybe they made some edits, but I can't remember that, but I do remember it was basically the same thing. And then, in terms of working on my own with my own company,
Mhm.
I will always remember the first placement I got. I don't The first client that I ever had with my company, Evolist Media, was called SAS class. It's a dance class in New York City. And I
Mhm.
would take it, and I knew it was different. And I also knew that it was new. They weren't in the press yet. And what was different about this dance company is that you learn a dance routine, but at the end you actually get this professional video done. So it almost makes it seem like you're in this music video. So it's like you have this hard, long day of work, and then you could just go and let your hair down and just have fun with the girls. And it was so fun, and it is still around. SAS class is still huge to this day. And I just said, "Hey, if I am starting this PR company, and I'd love you to be my first client, and I know that this is a unique company. You know that it's a unique company." And um and I said, if I and I gave her a very, very low rate at the time, because I just really
Mhm.
wanted to prove to her that I could do it, and also to myself, by myself, fully by myself. And the first placement, within the first month, Self Magazine wanted to do a video story on SAS class. And so SAS Magazine, they came to the studio soon after approving the pitch, it set up all the cameras, and they created this gorgeous, gorgeous story about the company. And they shared it, of course, online, but also across social media. And that's really what made it go viral, the story. And so many people were coming in saying, "Oh my gosh, we saw these videos and this story about SAS class on," maybe it was Snapchat or Instagram,
Mhm.
and they just flocked. They just flocked in because it was such a strong, beautiful story about sisterhood and empowerment, and just being free on the dance floor. So people loved it.
Do you remember your angle that you had pitched to Shape Magazine that they really kinda bid on?
Yeah, the angle was definitely about sisterhood, but it was about almost this sisterhood of professionals, really, that um become these pop stars at night. So I kind of framed it more as it's these group of women who are very professional, and career driven that almost have this second life, going to this dance studio, and having this kind of pop star sisterhood. So I framed it was something like that, and but they loved it. They liked this concept of just, these hardworking women who allow themselves to let their hair down, as well. And in doing so, they also created this extremely strong bond with other women. So yeah, so that was the
You had
story of it.
a strong story to go with it.
Yes, and especially in a video format, because visually you could see, yes, and also it was also about, these women weren't professional dancers. This was a place
Mhm.
to find community and to kind of ignite this maybe unknown fire within you that dance can bring out in so many people. And so there was different elements. It was like to the story as well. It was the power of dance. It was reigniting different parts of you that maybe you didn't know were there, or igniting in general. And yeah, just kind of learning new things about yourself and connection. So the story, yeah, was absolutely gorgeous. And sometimes with PR, with press, you don't always it could be an amazing story, but you don't always know if someone's going to click that link to buy something, or
Mhm.
if someone's going to show up to the business. But in this
Mhm.
case, everyone. It was like, gosh, so many people did. And yeah,
What a
this
great way to start. So
yes,
so
yes.
when you had this client SaaS class and they hired you to do this and you landed them this right off the bat, were you fully running the business yourself at that point, or were you kind of between your PR firm that you were working at? And tell us exactly how you make the transition, because a lot of people um, ask me, how do I get started in my own business? Did you take
Yeah.
the leap immediately? Was your boss supportive? Like, how did you transition to
Yeah, I
Evolist?
was I was of course nervous about having my own clients while I was working, with Green Goddess, but I asked her. I said, "Hey, I really think I'm thinking about starting my own little business one day. Would it be possible for me to have one client that's not competing with any clients for Green Goddess, while still making sure that I work
Mhm.
my hardest for your company as well?" And I don't know if this is will be successful for everyone if they ask this. And, but in my case, it was. And she said, "Camille, I knew you were going to do this at some point, of course." And so, because of that approval, I was able to slowly build up clients of my own. And I would always keep her informed and saying, "Hey, I have someone else interested in working with me." And I always made sure they weren't competing. That's the number one. And and so she would say, "Okay, so how about we'll do," and then the hours just decreased over time is really how it
Mhm.
worked. So as I made more connections and built more clients, I would let her know, and then just the hours with her company would just go down and down. And then sooner or later, it got to the point where I could have all of my own clients and work by myself.
What a beautiful gift she gave you. I mean, that is so
Yes, and I don't know if
generous.
it's normal. I really don't know.
I don't think it's normal,
I
Camille.
don't think it is. I don't think it is, but I guess she really trusted me, and, maybe the key was that I didn't work with anyone competing, and as long as she said, "As long as you're delivering for me as well, and then do what you need to do." So,
I think
yeah, I
I
think I
think
was
that
really lucky.
I think the open communication too, now that you are running your own company and I'm sure you have people working for you, you can probably see this perspective, but just that you had open communication with her and kept her informed on everything and was transparent about it. I think that probably alleviates a lot of mystery. And of course, nobody wants to be, you know, taken by surprise, because you know, campaigns and things that you're working on. I mean, they're not all short-term projects. A lot of them are long-term projects, and you kind of need a heads up if somebody's on their way out. So it sounds like you communicated well with her.
Always, always. Yeah. And I was so grateful for, first of all, the opportunity that she gave me right away in New York City and what I had learned from working with her. And I would never, never, never ever do anything to jeopardize that relationship. No, no. So yes, I was
And you're
very
still connected with her today? Are you?
real transparent with her to this day. There are still sometimes like different PR databases that we might share, there, yeah. So we're always going to be connected for sure. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah, and I always like, always, we're connected on social. I always keep up with like her kids. I used to babysit as well for her. So
Very connected. Well,
yeah.
tell me a little bit about what it's like now that you are the boss. How has that transition been? I know you have a team working for you as well now. Um, a lot of people get into owning their own business and there's certain reasons why they do it, but there's like a list of things you don't think about. Can you tell us about the list of things that kind of you weren't thinking about and that you had to learn how to do
Oh my
running your own
gosh, so
business?
many things. Yes. I mean, starting a business just business finance, for example, taxes. I mean, that was a whole curveball that I have an accountant now because I said, I'm not good at this. This is not my forte. So, but it's still at least good to have somewhat of a handle on, that. And, so yeah, learning about the taxes and business finance and about creating a website. The first website that I did was by myself with maybe it was Wix, could have been
Mhm.
Squarespace. But creating a website, I did that by myself, and that was something that I had never done before. Social media is a whole different world, and it's a whole completely different ballgame than traditional public relations. So those are just a few things that yes, I had to learn, but, it takes a long time. It takes a long time, and I
Mhm.
never feel perfect at anything. I feel like I'm just kind of dipping in a lot of things at the same time to try to, keep sailing on, and yes, I will say, because yeah, I knew the PR aspect of it. I said, "Okay, yeah, I know how to manage clients," but oof, owning a business is ooh, it's totally different world, but I do
What
prefer it.
what what's your favorite part of being a business owner?
Oof. Well, in my case, because it's a remote company, just like the company I worked with before, it's the freedom to travel, to be honest. So I do have this life where I am completely devoted to the craft of PR, but I also am devoted to exploring new worlds and new countries, and I do both. And in the process, I'm actually starting to get clients in different countries as well. So, which is something that I also didn't really envision the company having, clients in different countries, but now that's starting to happen. So so my favorite part about it is definitely the freedom, but you get more freedom with a remote company. I don't know if that would be the same answer for someone who has to go to the office every day. I would assume not.
What's your least favorite about running your own company? Like if you could do away with it.
There's not anything that really just that I hate, I would say, or that but I suppose the taxes are a little more difficult, honest. I know it's such a lame answer maybe, but it is. That's what it is. Because also if you hire freelancers, it's a little more complicated with the taxes and yeah, having to do all that. Um, it's yeah, that's been the most frustrating, I would say.
So it sounds like you have a team. Do you have employees or do you have a freelancers or how are you set up?
It's set up so the business right now is set up with freelancers. So anytime that there is a project that is very, it's a bigger project where different hands are going to be needed, I always hire freelancers just for the amount of time of that campaign. So that's how it's been. In time, I definitely am I would definitely want to have someone who's full time as an either as an assistant or as a VP or something. So in time, I definitely see more of the full time. But as of right now, the freelance hires have worked for me, and I've been keeping it small. But it's about time that I grow it to another level. It has the potential, so it'll get there. It'll get there. But as of right now, it's freelance only hires.
It's very exciting. And how have you been paying it forward at all with your mentorship? You got such a great start in your career and your business with mentorship. How do you pay that forward now?
Oh, well, I always make sure to give, like, for holidays, depending on which holidays they send. I always make sure to send a special gift, of course. That's one thing that I do. And also remembering their birthdays is really important to me. A lot of people are I'm not big on my birthday, but I really love other people's birthdays. And that's something that I noticed that they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that you knew my birthday. But I always get that right in the beginning, just in case it's coming up. And even if they're not working on the campaign anymore, say they're working on this 6-month campaign and their birthday's after, I do things like that. And I also, I really, in comparison to other companies that I had, like, say, intern for or I'm just aware of, I'm really fair with pay. I really am. Yeah, I'm not a cheapskate. I make sure that they're paid fairly, um, even as a small company. And then, obviously to grow, you do have to be really careful with, like, how much money you put out. I get, and all that. But I've never been someone to uh to pay too low. No, no, no. I like to pay super fairly. So, and that's another thing that I do that really made people appreciate working with me. And then also just always good energy, um, and just always making sure that they are thanked for what they're doing. Um, and that has always, yeah, that's always from what I've seen, made them like working for the company. And one day when it grows, I definitely have different people who I know would want to work full time.
That sounds great. I'm the same as you. I'm not big on my birthday, but I'm big on everyone else's birthdays.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm very very excited to celebrate other people's birthdays, but me, I'm like, no, I never tell anyone.
Well, it's been so much fun catching up with you. What's the best way for our Pitch Live community to connect with you, if they wanted to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the business website is evolistmedia.com, EVOLIST media.com. They could follow Evolist Media on Instagram if they'd like. And yes, that's the best way. That's the best way to get in contact with the business. And then me personally, I'm Camile Sardina everywhere.
Well, Camille, thank you so much for joining us today. I know truly you have inspired so many people by your career journey, and you're going to continue to do so. We will be watching you for sure. And I encourage everyone to share this episode so we can get more people exposed and inspired by all the amazing things that Camille is doing in her work, in her business, and her travels. And be sure to connect with her at evolistmedia.com and Instagram, Facebook. You can find her there at Evolist Media and on LinkedIn too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's so good seeing you again.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Pitch Live with Amy Summers. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and give us a rating or review. Your feedback helps us plan future episodes. I hope you were inspired today to get out there and pitch, to advocate for yourself, and to make success happen. As a bonus, join us at enicvox.com, where you can get motivated, hone your communication skills, and binge as much mentorship as you want whenever you need it. The link's going to be in the show notes, along with both Camille's and my social media handles. So let's stay connected and follow each other and support one another in success. Thank you, Camille. Until next time, MSH.